Hey guys, it's Pastor Bruce. We're in Acts chapter 26, which continues the narrative of Paul before King Agrippa in Caesarea. We see here Paul making his defense, and he asks an odd question after he has gone through pretty much his background. In verse 8, why should it be thought incredible by you that God raises the dead? If you recall, the meeting that began this whole process was Paul before the Sanhedrin, and he had proclaimed his faith in the resurrection. The Pharisees believed in that, the Sadducees didn't, and Paul pretty much brought the house down. I don't know if this was a lesser charge that was following him, but what I do know is that Paul used this as a door to begin to share his testimony. That's a great lesson for you and I. We need to ask the Holy Spirit to show us the door in our conversations so that we might begin to share the hope of Christ that's within us to those who need Him. Paul spent a brief amount of time talking about his life prior to salvation, again, not focusing on that. And then he talked about his meeting Jesus on the road to Damascus. The details are slightly different here than they are in the previous testimony. And that's important to you and I because we need to highlight the parts of our testimony that make sense to each individual and tailor it to them. The truth is always the truth, but certain people may respond to different parts of our testimony in different ways. He then talked about how in the aftermath of the Lord showing him his mission, how he had been obedient to preach the gospel to Jews and Gentiles, and how he had come to Jerusalem and been seized by them there, but God had protected him as he continued to share Jesus Christ, even to the point of being before these leaders. Festus thought Paul was crazy, but Paul kind of deflected that for the most part and looked at Agrippa and asked Agrippa to make a decision for Jesus Christ. That's bold. Before this king, asking him personally before all of these people to decide who Jesus was to him. Sadly, Agrippa responded, "You almost persuade me to become a Christian." This is such a commentary in our world today. People think not making a decision is okay, but not making a decision for Christ is making a decision against Christ. The chapter ends with Agrippa and Festus talking and them deciding that were it not for the fact that Paul had appealed to Caesar, he probably would have been freed. This is another marker in this book where Luke describes how Christianity is absolutely legal and that there is nothing against man's law in what we do in proclaiming Christ from here to the ends of the earth. God bless you as you go.